and welcome again to Procrastinator's Pit Stop. I have with us today another amazing guest for you today, Ruth Cummings. Ruth is a sports massage therapist and body mind life coach with over 25 years of experience, a six-figure business founder, personal trainer, and mother who has worked with professional athletes and thousands of teens. She offers practical techniques for adults over 40 to alleviate pain through self-care practices. Ruth, welcome to the show.
Well, thanks, Chris. Thanks for having me.
Oh, I'm really excited to dig into this with you, especially that mind body connection, because it's not something we go into too much on the show. But before we dig into that, we do like to have an icebreaker. And your question today is, which cartoon character do you resonate with the most, and why?
I would there's two, but I would say Tigger because I love to bounce around and he was my favorite when I was growing up. But I also say Tasmanian Devil because I'm always spinning. That's I've had to learn to not spin in my life. So those are the two I'd say.
Yeah, I like that. I definitely like that. So why don't you tell us a little bit about your journey and how you got to be where you are today?
Sure. So well, I've been doing massage since I was really young. So I was a lucky one to do what I love to do and get paid for it at an early age. So I've been helping professional athletes, and the name of my business for massage is Athletic Touch. And we did that because in those years there was the phone book, so you had to choose an A. And so, but I work mostly with athletes through the years. It's almost 32 years now of my practice, and I went into massage because I had ADHD and I couldn't sit still, and massage and drumming. I'm also a drummer, they go together really well. So if there's anybody out there who has a kid with ADHD, if they try drumming or things that are physical, like teaching them how to massage an arm or a leg, that really helps. So for me, I was coaching soccer and took state a couple times for my New Mexico state championship soccer girls teams, and then also in tennis. And I don't play tennis, but what I was really good with was dynamic stretching. And my teams didn't have any injuries. And that's something I'm really proud of, almost more than becoming champions. It's because learning how the body moved and how to get it ready for movement was really something that was powerful that I realized was huge because at the time and still now, which is a big problem, 85% of all female athletes will tear their ACLs by the time they're 25. And this is that's an alarming statistic that we really need to pay more attention to. But from there, I started working with leaders who a lot of CEO leaders would come in the same days as my professional athletes. And I was realizing that their bodies were responding the same to stress and that they had very specific points that had to do with leadership or how they could present themselves to their coaches, to their teams. And so I started having little theories because of my ADHD. I was really bored. So, and you have an hour or an hour and a half every massage. And I was doing, 40 a week for many, many years. So I would give myself a game to either prove or disprove my theories. And so I started proving these theories over and over on body after body. And I recognized that there are ways that we can help our leaders be more compassionate. So through the years now, in my last decades here, I'm really helping people learn how to teach and lead their teams, their families, themselves with more compassion. And I do that through showing them where their body is stuck. So I help profitability, I help teams, I help people that can't communicate or are having a hard time, say, firing somebody or hiring somebody. Those types of anxieties in the body were the same that they were for professional athletes. So I've learned to take it into CEO and to leaders and entrepreneurs so they can be better at their jobs. And it's so fascinating. It's been really fun. I teach all over the world, and I do speaking and retreats and then one-on-one work. So that's kind of my road, my journey so far.
Well, you've certainly had lots of success, and we all know that success is not a straight road any by any means. What would you say is the biggest challenge that you had to overcome?
Well, I would say there's different seasons of life, and in the beginning, it was hard because there were very few female business owners in New Mexico, especially that were successful. So that was a challenge, and also as a coach, there were very few, and so that was just to do things even when I was told I couldn't or I shouldn't. After that, I'd say that my it was really scary to believe in myself enough to take extreme risks. Like I hired a coach I think my third year in massage, and it was $3,000, and that was way more than it was like all I had in my savings account. And I just took that leap of faith because I just was drawn to that, and it was so cool because I more than quadrupled that money in I think like 2 months. And so I've had coaches ever since then. So the different types of risks I've taken, those have been it always makes my heart race, and those have been huge challenges that have allowed me to really change my trajectory to go very high and to make six figures, to make over that, to help people do the same, to help athletes be better at what they already are good at, and CEOs and stuff to take risks with them as well. And it's been really great to see it work in all realms and teens. So yeah, I think taking risks maybe would be the number one.
Hmm. Well, I mean, we are creatures of comfort, and we tend to shy away from risks. I mean, that's a holdover from just 10,000 years ago when we were running naked through the woods, right? I mean, we didn't take too many risks because whatever risk we took would kill us. Like, should I jump for that apple in that tree that's got that giant snake hanging in it? But so I
Yep.
mean, I can see that. And you mentioned a couple of interesting points there. I mean, we've all heard about. Well, okay, most of us have heard about that you carry your emotions in your body and in different, parts specifically. So we know anxiety can, tense up certain muscle groups. But what I'm interested in right now too is that when you said compassion, I'm a little curious. Could you dig into that a little bit? Like how and where does that kind of fit into the body? Because it's not something you hear a lot.
I know, and definitely why I'm trying to get the word out because it's very important. So compassion, I'm about to have a book out. My book, I just finished a book on this, and it's in the editing illustration process. So it should be out very early of 25. So, and it explains this. This gives a map. So there's a map of where we hold emotion. This is not new information. It's just we've known this for hundreds of years. But so there's different places where we hold emotion and different ways to let it go. And in our society, great ways to hold it back, to ignore it. And we're taught, especially in America, but other countries too, I work all over, we are taught to put success above our health. And so we ignore what we really need in our body to be healthy in order to be successful. I think the thought process is that once you're successful, then you can relax and then you can let your body be healthy. And that's just not that's not working so far. So in compassion, the throat holds all communication. Anything you need to say, anything you don't say gets stuck. Anything you need to hear, anything that you don't hear gets stuck. So the throat will have a lot of issues. It'll have neck pain, it'll have chronic sore throats, possibly. You can't swallow, literally can't swallow. There's different things that the throat will show. So, and then this part, the chest, holds the top four things that the chest holds is love, grief, courage, and betrayal. So when we talk about compassion, there's a lot of it that's in the chest. And we tend to put a wall up for people loving us or loving people. And it happens because we get hurt at some point, usually when we're little, and we kind of stop. You put your eyebrows in a way, and then you if you look at the way like my face reacts to that, that's what I'm watching in people that I'm looking online. Because I can see the way that the body moves then when I ask specific questions, and I'm looking for very specific muscles to get tight. So with compassion, it's usually a lack of breathing. So first of all, if you have a wall up for people, your breath usually is going to be very shallow. So when you take a deep breath, it almost makes you feel vulnerable. So when you look at how you feel when you take a deep breath, like some people can't even go, it stops. It feels like it just gets stuck. So someone like me who coaches the body, and I'm an advocate for the body. So I advocate for the body and the mind-body communication. So most people are on the mind. What does the mind think? What do we think about that? I'm trying to say, hey, let's look backwards. How is your body responding to something that's about to happen or that you're worried about? You're about to fire somebody, for example, right? So look at what your body does when you walk in. Do your toes curl in? Are you breathing? How is your posture? Is your posture too powerful? Like, I'm going to punch you. Is it just enough where people can trust you, which is something that you can practice in a mirror? How is your smile? Is it soft? Is it angry? Are you smiling at all? Is your eye contact at the floor, up in the ceiling? Is it to the side? So are you avoiding this whole thing in altogether? Your body in there's specific body language that shows that, but I'm talking about something beyond the body language to the outside. I'm talking about the muscles that are inside your body that are holding you back. And so that people on the outside really can't see unless they're trained like me to see it. So with compassion, we want to be kind to people. We want to be unconditional so that you see what they need before you look what you can get from them. And this is something that we don't do as a culture. We are protected and we seek what we can get first instead of what we can give first. So I'm really hoping to help more and more people give first, lead with kindness, lead with compassion. And I have so many examples now. One of my favorites is Emmanuel Logan Green. He was a football player at UNM, and we were his host family here. And there was a day where he was feeling like his team was falling apart, no one was trusting each other, things like that. He tells a story way better than I do. And so he was like, Miss Ruth, I don't know what to do. And so we tried one of my techniques, which is to touch a shoulder. So he started touching the guy's shoulders and saying that, hey, I trust you, man. I trust you, man. And everybody was looking at him like he was insane, like he was about to kill himself. Do you need anything? You good? But by the end of that week, everybody was touching everybody on the shoulder saying, I trust you, man, as a joke. But by the time the game came, they were doing it and everybody was happy. They were yelling. They were such good teamwork. And Emmanuel ran, I think, 98 yards, his longest of his career. And you can see him, he told them how to trust him so he could trust them. And that play showed up in an amazing way. And I show that on my website and on certain talks I do. But that's one way of showing it within sports, because in sports, you can do it with an athlete. You can see something tangibly immediately. And I think that we can do it as all of us out here as CEOs, as parents. How do you lead with kindness first? I show you how to open up your chest and your throat in order to do that. Does that explain it? I know it's a long way, long version.
No, no. Thank you for sharing that. Now, we did talk a little bit prior, quite a few months ago back now, but we were talking about procrastination and how that can sort of sit in the body as well as various different emotions. And I think one of them that you were mentioning was uh, guilt and anxiety, and how alleviating those muscles, or how getting those muscles to work properly can actually help alleviate that feeling and rewire the mind connection as well. Is that correct?
For sure, any emotion, but guilt, jealousy, shame are right below the rib cage, right before, right where the rib cage ends here. And when you have that tight and you don't let it go, it will cause issues in your body, like uh, acid reflux, for example, or not being able to digest as well. So if you can reverse engineer the way that you are looking at procrastination and see that if there's something that success will make you nervous about, If you can look at that and see how your body responds to that when you're thinking about it, that's the whole point. If you can think about it and sit in that feeling, but not have that part of your body be tense, that is the goal. And that's what we do with every emotion. So if you sit, so in order to do that, you have to unpack why you're procrastinating. So when we look at why someone's procrastinates, if they actually don't know, then you have to start there, and you can use the body in that scenario, in those conversations. You ask them and they ask themselves about procrastination, and they put themselves in a visualization, just like an athlete. So an athlete's about to visualize themselves pitching a ball. So you put yourself in the procrastination, like you know that something's due next week, and then you wait and you wait and you wait and you wait, and it's like the night of, and you try to put your body through the visualization of how you feel through that week. And if you can relax the muscles that you feel tense up on every different thought. So there'll be a thought like, 5 days before, 4 days before, 3 days before. Sometimes those are different. Sometimes they're the same. But if you can separate them and try to relax them while you have the thought, then you will change the trajectory of your success in any part of your world. So, and that's what I help do, because it's uh it's hard the first few times. Once you get it once or twice, then it's like you can fly on your own, and you don't need my coaching anymore. Because once you learn it, then you can teach everybody around you. So, but that's how procrastination and the body um, are connected, and that's how you can undo that and let that go, so that you can be calm and more powerful and focused, instead of worrying about the actual procrastination and what it does to you.
Well, I think a lot of it comes down to, as you're talking about the body and how you feel in the body, and how we tend to ignore the body. Um, you talked about us prioritizing our success over our health, and one of the things I see a lot of is that if we're not aligned with it, then we're kind of fighting against it every day. But we're fighting not only doing the thing, we're fighting our own body as well. Um,
Yeah.
Now, it's not always possible to do something that you're not gonna have that feeling about it. Are there any tips or tricks you could give to help somebody work through something they have to do, but they really don't, they just feel like they can, and they've got that really tight feeling somewhere?
Well, the basic things that help everybody. So, I mean, and this is just in any book about relaxation or procrastination or not procrastinating, would be to take deep breaths. Those it really does help. And then after that, I teach just uh, a cat cow stretch, just really simple, just doing this. If you do that, that moves your rib cage, and it really does help those feelings of anxiety or procrastination, because it moves all the areas. It moves the communication, it moves the areas of grief, courage, love, and betrayal, and it moves the things from like guilt, shame, anything in your stomach as well. So those two things truly can help. It's really interesting, but it's true. Another one is you could roll your hand from the back of your shoulder forward. So these are physical things that you can do to relax, or to have your body not be so anxious. The ones that I'm talking about take a little bit more um, concentration and focus, and I would say self-actualization or self-realization. You have to actually know where you're hurting first. So when people come to me and they say, I don't even know why I'm here, I don't know why, everything that they answer is, I don't know. And they get more and more frustrated. Another thing I hear a lot is, I've tried everything. I've done MRIs, I've done this, I'm still hurting. My business is a mess, my family's a mess, and I just don't know why. A lot of us we start there. And so when you're in that position, prayer is really good, journaling is really good. And then my suggestion is, when you're praying or when you're journaling, notice what your body does to what you're writing. And that's the first step, is to try to connect one specific spot with your stress. A lot of people, for example, know that they're hurting like right here on the shoulder. I just did an Instagram post trying to show people how to relax their shoulders and what the shoulder holds. And that's one of the number one things that people complain about. The other one is back pain and shoulder pain, top two. Neck would be three. And so those, if you, the key again is to, I'm stressed about my husband, I'm stressed about my neighbor, whatever that is that holds your shoulder up, be worried about your shoulder or your neighbor or your husband and have the shoulder come down. Can you do that? That's the number one thing. So, but right here, that and deep breathing. If we taught that in school, we'd be a different culture in 2 years. Oh, you're muted.
Yeah. I'm sorry about that. Yeah. So they do try to teach self regulation in schools, but it is kind of a little bit. I guess it's lackluster because we start off in kindergarten. At least in North America, I see we start in kindergarten where we have the little faces. Somebody happy, sad, whatever, and then sort of what can you do with that? And I've noticed that a lot of it is kind of avoidance. Um, if you don't like somebody in the school year, well, just don't hang around them. Okay, well,
Right.
that's that's not that's not self regulation to me. That is just avoiding the problem and compounding it later on. But I definitely agree that we should be teaching that more in our schools for sure. Um, you mentioned that just those kinds of stretches. You actually also mentioned it when you were stretching as well. Is there something that you typically do for people, not on the sports side for stretching every day? Because I mean, we all know that ergonomics are important. Subconsciously we know that, but we don't really know anything. Are there specific stretches that you have for somebody who's, well, for lack of a better words, sedentary for most of the day?
Sure. Well, I really, really say this almost actually every podcast that the sitting cat and cow stretch is probably the number one thing you can do. Another one I do is I teach this is to put your chin as high as you can and to stretch the front of your neck. The other reason we want to do this is because we're so far forward with our phones and our computers these days. So if you put your neck and you want to stretch the skin, that really helps. So it looks like this. And I'm really pulling my chin up and I want to move the skin. That'll also help move your lymph out of your face and out of your neck. That really helps. Rolling your wrists while you're sitting. And also, if you are sitting all day, one of the things you could do is squats. Now, you don't have to do like squats like gym squats. I do probably 100 squats probably, I do those quite a bit. And I do it without weight. I just sit and I don't go down very far. So if I'm, waiting for something to get hot, or if I'm at my house and I'm waiting for a call or something, I try to do squats right then. And that really helps. So like if you're at a desk, if you squat and just touch your rear to the seat and then stand back up and just keep doing that. If you just start there, that will really help. That will help your glutes, it'll help your legs and your back and your spine, and all of those things help you do things like confront people more or better or more clearly. It helps you have a better foundation on feel more grounded, feel like you belong more. So because those muscles have to do with not belonging, not feeling like you're following your purpose. So that squats are huge. And then changing this part, which is communication and grief and courage and love, those will also help. Just those things. If you feel betrayal, for example, like if you feel like someone stabbed you in the back, then doing the cat cow also stretches that area. That will usually show itself between the shoulder blades, and it feels literally like you've been stabbed in the back and that you can't get the knife out. It's kind of like right here. And that will radiate through that area of the body. The thing about that is it comes straight through, so we can find it in the front too. So stretching that out and then stretching the back, that really helps. So breathing, those few stretches. You can always just I have a few on my website, but um, I have stopped doing stretches as much and helping people finding points to support putting connecting the dots really between thoughts and the action of their muscles. So, but I hope those help. Those That's what I would say for stretches.
Well, thank you for that. And it's very interesting that you mentioned that that sense of not belonging, or that sense of not uh, yeah, you said not belonging, or not really connected to what you're doing, and you just described about 90% of all our jobs out there. We're just sit because
Right.
we're sitting all that time. So again, just by doing those squats, it's interesting. I hadn't really considered doing that. Hmm, might have to
Yes.
work that into the routine. Yeah.
Yeah, your foundation, right? Like, so this is where your hips are, like your sacrum, that whole area is the foundation of your body. So if it's like what happens, it's really interesting. If let's say you move or you get fired or you go through a divorce, something very serious in your life that shifts, that area of your body actually shifts millimeters. So people often have gut issues, like they have constipation or they have digestive issues, or they have low back pain right after or right before they know this is about to happen. So when that happens, because their foundation of their entire life has just shifted. So keeping the foundation of your life clean and strong is really important. And squats is just one of the easiest ways to do that. So you just have to, like for me, it's all about the body. How does the body talk about your life? And what is it missing? If it's missing, if you tell me that you're feeling like you don't have a purpose, I'm going to look at the muscles in that area and say, all right, here's some really simple things you can do to get that strong. And let's see, why won't it ever feel strong? So there's some people that oh, I work out all the time and I can't get my glutes to fire, or I can't get my stomach to go away, or whatever. And then we look at, all right, why is, I believe you that you're going to the gym, and I believe you that you're doing these squats and these ab exercises, but those muscles they're not responding. So then we look at, why isn't it responding? So that's another way of showing that it has an issue right there. So the body can either say, like, it'll show a spot being really hot, really cold, but it could also be numb, it could be weak, it could be overly strong. So there's different ways. It goes, too hot and too cold in all things that a muscle can do, or tissues. And so I look at that too. Why can't a space in your body get strong? What is stopping it? What is it trying to say to us? What are the clues it's giving us? And then we look around and see what else is too strong or too weak, and try to balance it all. It's really fascinating. Like, there's a lot involved.
No, that is fascinating because, and actually, I have like one of my own experience with that actually, because it makes sense when you're talking about the lower back and having something that happened, right? So about 2 years ago, I went through something that was pretty, it shook up a lot of the foundation of some certain things, and I'd noticed that I would have lower back pain more when I was like sleeping, like getting out of bed or like on a couch and things. But what was interesting was when I worked through that, you're right, it went away. I just assumed that maybe, because I'd also started, working out more. I just naturally assumed it was more because of that. But it's very interesting.
Yeah, they go together. They go together. So, like, for example, you'll see there's if a linebacker, let's say, and like a offensive lineman is going through something tough in his life, like going through a divorce or going through um, losing something in his life, they are at that moment a little bit more um, uh, prone to getting back injuries right there during a game. So it's very important. That's why with any sport, especially when they're doing, hitting like that, that they keep those things out of their consciousness during the season, because they can really get hurt. So like for you guys, you're sitting at the desk, you have to think about what can help me focus more, and what types of behaviors outside of this room and outside of my chair can make this worse, and what can make it better. And try to get your body to be a teammate in your success. And how can you do that? How can you create the most healing environment for your body? How do you do that? Create the most healing environment for your body. That's what we do too. It's like let's figure that out. You can figure that out on your own. If you have any questions too, just call me, or you can get a hold of me on Instagram is usually where I hang out. But there's the body is involved. If you listen to it, it has a lot of clues to show you. It will tell you what you need to know. We just need to learn to listen again.
Well, we definitely need to learn to listen to our bodies more for sure. It's one of the reasons I'm kind of excited about that book of yours that's coming out. Actually, got me thinking too. Writing a book is that. Well, I keep using this on like every single podcast, but hey, it's like 98% procrastination and 2% writing.
It is.
How true is that for you?
Oh my gosh. Oh yeah. This has been decades in the making. Decades. Like so. And then finally, one of my adopted sons put a fire under my tail because he had a project that's due actually today, and he was I was getting on him about that. I was like, "Hey, have you done that? Have you done that?" And he was like, "Have you done your book?" And and because I said I was going to finish it by Thanksgiving this year. It was so funny. So that it's funny how even, the procrastination for me, telling me I can't or putting a challenge in my face, that for me, that helps. And so no kidding, I finished it like 2 days later. And so that was last week. It was just a couple days ago I finished. And so I procrastinated. I'm procrastinating because I didn't feel like I have anything to say. I feel like people are going to, this information's already out there. Uh, you know, all the things that people procrastinate about, imposter syndrome. Who am I to say this? What experience does my 32 years and tens of thousands of hours, that's not enough. I have to take more classes, those types of just silly things that we tell ourselves. But I had a lot of support behind me going, come on, they're asking me the same questions. How do I get this out of my shoulder? Okay, I'll get the book out. And so that really helps me. But procrastination, it's real. So
You brought up that fact that the information's already out there. Well, I have one really simple argument that I use for pretty much everybody now that says, hey, uh, why are you a coach, or why do you go to a coach, or why are you doing that if the information is it's nothing new. It's like, well, when you go to school, we've all had bad teachers where we learned absolutely nothing from, and we've had good teachers that we got a lot from. Same material, same curriculum, it's just the way that it's put out there. So, um, I just my big question with everybody who writes a book. I have a lot of respect for people who write books, by the way, just because I refuse to do it. Um, what was your reason for using the book as a medium instead of I don't know, articles or short videos or something else?
well, I'm a public speaker. So like for public speakers, having a book is it's just it's almost something you have to have. It's almost like they expect it. So when you're going to doing, I haven't done keynotes yet, but that's where I'm headed. And they want you to be able to give that out. So that was one thing that was I'm also applying for some TED Talks. And for those, they want a book to be able to refer to. So that was one of the reasons I did that. And then also because mine is a reference guide. It's like so it's something that you can go back to over and over. So it also cross references. So it says, all right, you have neck pain. Okay, this is the emotions it could hold, and this is how to get rid of that. But it also says, hey, you have anger. Here, let's look. This is where that usually is. And so I just cross references, and it's all color coded because I have a hard time reading. I have ADHD. It's really hard for me. So it's color coded, and it's a book that I like to read because it's not really reading. It's like this does this and it does this, and so this is how to help yourself. And so the other reason I went for a book, and I did it now, just finished it recently, is that some of my teachers passed away, and they didn't write down what they taught all of us. And I was talking to my other people that I work with, my coworkers from years ago that I went to school with in the 90s, and they hadn't written anything down that these teachers had taught us either. So I felt like I didn't want to forget. And so I felt like that also should go into a book for a long time instead of different types of mediums. Um, so those are kind of the reasons I did it. And I just have a lot of friends around me with books that are kind of hammering, hey, come on. So just a lot of pressure.
Yeah, well, I don't know. I've got lots of people that tell me I should write a book too, so I'm tempted to design a book cover and to just not write the book. How to procrastinate in 10 easy steps. I'll have the you know I'll have the I'll release that book. That's a good. I'm going to release that book. In 10 easy steps. Step one, and I'll just have the giant one on the first page, and then it'll be 200 blank pages. Boom.
That's very yeah, typical.
Yeah.
That's yeah, you should write a book. Go for it.
Nah, I'm not gonna do it. I prefer talking to people. I prefer sharing things that way. I get what you're saying though, and you're right. We do lose a lot that isn't written out. We lose a lot that is written out.
Yeah.
Just thinking back to like history books. I mean, there's so much of history that's been lost because it wasn't written about, or it was redacted, or it was
Yeah.
only from a certain viewpoint. Um, no, thank you for being willing to sit down and even if it took 10 years, sit down and put that book out because again, I'm not doing it. I don't want to do it, so we need people like you to go out and do that.
Well, I think my this subject too is just really needed. We if we could, and it's just really simple. It's not it's something that we all need. So I'm also just really I'm so excited to have it because I have to answer the same questions over and over and over. And if I want to show people how to do this, I'm just me. So it's like I can't I can only help so many people. That's why I'm doing public speaking to get to more people or doing podcasts. And a book also helps that. But even the book, like it can take you through how to find and um, try to support your body a little bit better. Uh, but I think that I'm trying to just make it easy to understand, and writing it forced me to do that. My editor was on me. She's like, "This doesn't make sense." Oh, and that really helped too because I another procrastination tactic was to make it too complicated.
Hmm.
So I recognize that that was my another self-sabotage was to make it complicated, and so I simplified it by having an editor who was amazing, who just said, "Wait, so this doesn't make sense to the normal person. If they don't know their muscle names or if they don't know this, they don't know that. Let's make it really, really easy to understand." And having that support and having that coaching was invaluable. It was really priceless for me. So it should be really simple for everybody to be able to take home and be able to use right away. I think that's cool. So I'm glad I did that.
Actually, you said something right there on to hit the nail on the head, and I went back. So I sort of admonished our school systems for not teaching self-regulation and things like that. But just as you were saying that, I went back to my 12-year-old self and to my up to my even 16, 15-year-old self, and it's like, well, was I really open to listening to anything? Like, did I even know what self-awareness was? Would I know what that was? Forget about the muscle names. Would I even care? Like,
Yeah.
so I guess that could be a big challenge. But it got me thinking too. Do you have any plans to? Because I imagine the book has got a pretty specific sort of audience for it. Do you have any plans to make it more like a fun, maybe children's book or anything like that in the future?
Yeah, actually, it's already in the making because the book started getting so big that we went just to the basics, and now it'll be body mind IQ for leaders, body mind IQ for teens, body mind IQ for relationships, and then body mind IQ for entrepreneurs. And those are my like truly four areas that I really focus on. And I'll tell you what, 16-year-olds, if you pique their interest, they're very into this. And if they catch this, like the young athletes that I work with, if they catch how to do this, it changes their trajectory. Truly, they won't get as injured. Here's the thing that happens with athletes is that for us as like if you're sitting, on your desk every day and you're doing your same type of business model, an athlete, let's say a soccer player, she'll go out and she's shooting the same way, and they have to shoot, they're doing shooting practice that day. So they plant on her left foot and she has to take her leg back and shoot. If she gets an injury and she can't do that, it depends on what is her motivation to go to that soccer practice, to be on the soccer team, to whatever the motivation is. They change their body structure immediately to take away the pain. They Once you show them how to do that and why the back is pulling too hard and it should be a muscle on the glute or it should be part of her quad instead, if you show them how to do that, they change it, and almost every if they get injured, they know how to do it immediately. And if we learned how to do that as people sitting sedentary, how to change your hips, like, to move your hips back and forth so that you don't get back pain, or you learn how to do the cat and cow every hour, or if you learn the steps that you need as a jock in your chair, then you it just changes the trajectory to add the body. So I just kids are into it. I work with a lot of teens, so they're into this. They know how to self-regulate if they've worked with me. If they've worked with me, we talk about that and we make it really cool. Also, you do it so that no one sees it. So they learn how to breathe in without anybody seeing, just in case it embarrasses them. So you can teach them that too. You can also teach them to have better eye contact or no eye contact, depending on what they need to self-regulate. So if they need to look away, or if they need to kind of look above people. Those are also different little techniques, little tricks that they can use. The adults can too, but kids need stuff like that because they don't want to look stupid. We don't either as adults, but teens are it's really in their face. It's a big deal for them.
No, it certainly is. Thank you for sharing those insights. We are coming up pretty close to the time here. We've had a lot of good information. We're definitely looking forward to. I'm going to hold you those other four book titles now. I'm going to wait for those ones to come out now. So definitely
Yeah.
going to hold you to that and see when those are coming out. Do you feel there's anything that I didn't ask and should have asked today, or anything that we should have covered but we didn't cover today?
No, you asked great questions. Thanks for having me. I hope that people got a little bit out of how to love your body, to know that it loves you, to know that it's having a communication behind the scenes, that it has its point of view. If you listen to its point of view, you can probably learn a lot. If you don't, if your answer to that question is I have no idea, then consider the dis-ease that you're creating in your body by doing that, and that it really, really needs your attention. So that's what I would say. But no, this has been fun. Thanks for having me. And any way I can help, I'm out here. You can reach out.
Well, thank you so much. Thank you so much for that, and thank you so much for coming, Ruth. Again, it was a great conversation. For all the listeners, we are going to be putting Ruth's contact info and link to the book as well in the bio. So we're going to hold you to that release date now, and your publishers too. So that'll be
Yes.
good. And thank you so much for tuning in and listening. And just remember, if you can't find that inspiration or motivation for yourself today, maybe just try and be that motivation or inspiration for somebody else. And we'll see you again next time. There we go. Cool. Oh, wow. Good connections.